crisis on the border is a national problem, and it demands a national solution. But if the Biden administration continues to fail the American people, then we have no choice but to step in.
Republicans pushed through resolutions condemning President Biden's border control policies. And the governor responds today by announcing that more Georgia National Guard soldiers are headed to Texas. Good evening and welcome to Lawmakers. On the 20th day of the Georgia legislative session, we're at the halfway point in the 2024 General Assembly. I'm Donna Lowry in Atlanta. More on the border resolutions in a moment. It's been 2 years since Georgia passed the Mental Health Parity Act. It was considered a start toward improving the state's mental health delivery system. Where do things stand now? We'll get updates from two of the lawmakers who helped push through the legislation. We'll also talk to another lawmaker who wants to help student athletes with issues of stress and anxiety. And artificial intelligence is like a fast-moving train in our lives. What legislation does the state need to handle what is going on now and what's coming down the pike? Two members of the House Technology and Innovation Committee join us. But first, let's get the Capitol report from our Sarah Callis at the Capitol.
Hi, Donna. As we reached the halfway point in the session, it was a tale of two chambers, leading up to a major announcement from Governor Kemp. It was a harmonious day in the Senate, with 7 bills passing almost unanimously. Today's most notable, a bill that promotes gun safety.
All of us want to protect our children from accidental injuries, including those of us who are lawful gun owners. This bill is simply an incentive for lawful gun owners to purchase safe storage devices, including firearm safes and firearm safety devices such as trigger locks, by exempting them from Georgia's sales tax.
The bill, SB 340, passed 46-1. The other bills that were passed included the creation of a new circuit court in West Georgia, increasing fines for people in groups misrepresenting themselves as charitable organizations, improving insurance benefits for Georgia National Guard members and small businesses, changes to how trucking companies can insure themselves and their liabilities, and finally, SB 334, which will allow firefighters to move to other fire departments and keep their cancer insurance coverage.
My brothers and sisters in the fire service have an increased risk and rate of cancer many times greater than the public. And sadly, the death rate is also significantly higher. But the bill that we passed in 2017 greatly helped the people in your community who respond in your greatest time of need. This is a very simple cleanup bill. When we originally crafted the legislation, we wanted to make sure someone was at a fire department for 1 year before they would get that insurance. However, we did not want to have that insurance have a gap if they move from one fire department to the next fire department.
Activity in the House was more contentious. Members passed a resolution that supported Texas's controversial border defense. It also condemns President Joe Biden's U.S.-Mexico border policy. Republicans who support House Resolution 1019 say that every state is a border state.
House Resolution 1019 is a simple bill that makes clear that Georgia is leading where our federal government is failing. They're failing to secure our southern border. They're failing to ensure the safety of our families all around this state and around this nation. And they're failing to properly address the drug epidemic that has been blighting our communities. House Resolution 1019 simply empowers our governor to provide the resources necessary in the state-led coalition to secure the southern border of our U.S. and Mexico line.
They also allege stricter border security would reduce the flow of fentanyl. Democratic opponents said the resolution would not do anything to mitigate the fentanyl crisis.
We are not going to fix our fentanyl crisis. We're not going to fix our immigration crisis. We're not going to fix our quote-unquote border crisis if we continue down this path. Because the other thing about this resolution specifically that concerns me, in addition to the fact that it tends to restate facts that are incorrect, is the fact that it is leading us down a dangerous road as it relates to our Constitution, as it relates to the separation of powers, as it relates to our responsibility as a state versus as a country.
The hour-long debate got heated over language.
Estoy aquí en contra de esta medida y les pido que les voten en contra.
Very impressive, Representative Cannon. I know Spanish too, but I'm not going to pander to my community. I respect this body, I respect the state, and in this country we speak English.
The resolution passed along party lines, 98 to 71. It also supported Governor Brian Kemp in doing what he feels is necessary to secure the border, which he addressed at a press conference later in the day.
Therefore, I'm announcing today that in addition to the Georgia Guardsmen already stationed at the border, we will send reinforcements to Texas this spring who will assist with the construction of a forward command post on the border with Mexico. This group of well-trained soldiers will include those with engineering, mechanical, and general purpose skills.
Kemp announced that he will send the Georgia National Guard to Texas to help Governor Greg Abbott at the border. Lawmakers will return to the Capitol Thursday for Day 21 and Lunar New Year celebrations. That's all for my Capitol Report. Donna, back to you.
Thank you, Sarah, for that report. In 2022, the General Assembly passed landmark mental health legislation. Since then, the pace in that area has slowed down a bit. Joining us are two lawmakers who are hoping to speed things up through their bills. Democratic Representative Mary Margaret Oliver of Decatur is an attorney, and she helped lead the effort to push through previous mental health legislation in the General Assembly. And Democratic Representative Omari Crawford is also an attorney from Decatur. Welcome to Lawmakers, you Decatur people who are also attorneys.
Thank you.
We're going to talk separately about your thing, so I don't think I'm ignoring you. I'm going to get to you in a second. Last week, the Carter Center hosted the first annual Mental Health Parity Day at the Capitol, announcing the result of a year-long campaign to spread awareness and implement the mental health parity law. How important is that kind of spotlight?
It's tremendously important, and I'm grateful to the Carter Center. I'm grateful to the Blank Foundation that also funded an initial effort, this huge effort statewide, to give people information they need on how to enforce their rights under the Georgia Parity Act. In the spring of 2022, under the leadership of David Ralston, then Speaker David Ralston, we made an enormous step forward. His leadership brought people together to recognize the crisis that Georgia citizens' families were facing on mental health. In Georgia Parity, equal treatment for mental illnesses as for physical illnesses was a key part of, essential first part of House Bill 1013.
Yeah, and now you've got HB 184. Tell us what that's about.
Well, we're also focusing primarily on House Bill 520 that followed the second year of our mental health reform. 520 came from the Behavioral Health Commission, and we had a very strong support from the House in 2023, and then we ran into a little bit of a blockage in the Senate. But now in 2024, we're having very good, positive discussions that all the second year's provisions for mental health reform will happen.
Okay, let's break down some of the things you guys have looked at. One of the big ones has always been workforce. Where does that stand? I'm
chairman of the Workforce Subcommittee of the Behavioral Health Commission. Our number one priority out of the 2023 Behavioral Health Commission report relates to staffing. We have to increase the Medicaid reimbursement rates for mental health providers across state. We have to make sure that our loan forgiveness program is moving forward. We particularly have to modernize, make the licensing boards for all our mental health workers work more efficiently. We're in a national discussion right now about how foreign-born professionals, 1 in 8 of Georgians are foreign-born today, how mental health professionals coming from other countries can obtain their Georgia license in an efficient way. I represent the Emory community on a very regular basis. I'm writing letters to state departments for visa applications for high-level scientists from foreign countries that are coming to Emory for research grants. We're a big research university. Our licensure boards are simply not keeping up with the modern world. We're also working on different kind of training, different kind of flexibility for employments. You know, Chick-fil-A allows a variety of different ways for people to work. Some work very long, 14-hour, 16-hour sessions. We give employees more options, more opportunities, and of course, better benefits and pay.
Okay. Well, I want to talk to you more about that, but I want to get to you, Representative Crawford. Let's move into specifics of your legislation dealing with student athletes. And I want to give some background, first of all. The CDC reports that 57% of high school students participate in sports. And the National Library of Medicine did a study of student athletes and found that 91% of them experienced some kind of stress due to playing sports. And of that group, 58% described moderate to extreme stress. And as we look at those numbers, some claim stress positively affected their performance, but most students listed fear of failure and self-pressure as reasons behind their stress. And 18% believe that receiving help from a medical professional would not benefit them at all. So your bill deals with student athletes in particular, HB 1104. Tell us about it.
Yes, thank you very much. And to give you a little bit of background, I'm a former student athlete. I participated at the high school and the collegiate level. And
in track?
In track and field, yes. And my late coach, my track coach, recently passed this past week. And one of the things that he would say to us is that it's important to compete, and the will to win is something that you need to focus on, but more important, you need to focus on the will to prepare to win. And so he was a pioneer in making sure that anytime we competed, we would sit down and we would do these mental exercises, breathing exercises, so that we can clear our minds. He was very big on making sure that we were stress-free when we would go out and compete, because he understood, like I understand as I competed at the collegiate level especially, is that there is a parity between mental health and physical health. If you are not mentally prepared, then you will likely be injured physically. And so there are so many student athletes that, as you just stated, some of the data shows that we're under immense pressure. And a lot of times that stress is because we want to compete at a very high level. But then we don't necessarily receive the mental help that we need. So what this bill is doing, it's very simple bill. We have the data, and what we want to do is use all of the data that we have to fuse it together so it can be user-friendly for our coaches, for our student athletes, and our parents, so that they can know the statistics. And we already have, our coaches right now have to go through training to look at, for instance, concussion protocols. And while that's very important, that's reactive. We want to be more proactive. If we know that these statistics and these dangers exist, let's make sure that our coaches, parents, and student athletes know what to do on the front end.
Yeah, and so we think of maybe Olympic athletes like gymnast Simone Biles and her and others who have talked about their mental issues. And you're saying we should be thinking about this at the high school level.
Absolutely. We should be thinking about this at the high school level now more than ever. Statistics have shown that over the last 10 to 15 years, the stress levels for high school student athletes has increased. And some of those stress factors, of course, were exacerbated because of the pandemic. And so, again, we need to start focusing on how we can help our student athletes face some of their stresses and anxiety levels.
Yeah, we showed a picture of your former coach, but we haven't said his name, Napoleon Cobb.
Coach Napoleon Cobb.
Hall of Fame coach.
Coach Napoleon Cobb was a Hall of Fame coach out of DeKalb County. And just a little bit of background about him, he coached 11 state championship teams, a national championship team, and multiple Olympians. 4 Olympians, and collectively they won approximately 10 medals. So he was a dynamic coach, and they just named a stadium after him in DeKalb County.
Just a few days ago. So
yes.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for that. I want to ask you before we leave, do you see any mental health parity legislation, anything passing this session?
Yes, we're very hopeful that the elements, the provisions of 520 that address staffing and address alternative disciplinary, and also move forward with the licensing for foreign professionals. We're in negotiations with the Senate, and I feel very hopeful that we will get substantive progress. And we're keeping up and having multiple meetings with the Insurance Commissioner, DCH, about specific implementation of parity provisions.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an update on that, and we'll keep a watch on your bill too. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So coming up, we take you on a ride on the Hopper, the AI-operated bus at the Battery. We hear from passengers. Plus, Plus, 2 members of the House Technology Committee on the legislation needed to keep up the pace when it comes to artificial intelligence. Stay with us.
Lawmakers is made possible by Georgia Farm Bureau. With over 80 years of helping everyone understand the importance of agriculture in our state. After all, ag is Georgia's #1 industry. Food and fiber production represents over $74 billion in output of Georgia's strong economy. The Georgia Farm Bureau legislative team works to represent producers across Georgia at the state capitol during the session and year-round. Georgia Farm Bureau, the voice of Georgia farmers.
People put their faith in PBS because they know that it is constantly delivering quality. It covers the whole of the United States. It's a free and independent media.
We go where the viewers are.
What are the conversations that are happening right now?
We feel that civil discourse is a civic responsibility.
What we do is authentic reporting that people can trust.
You give time so you can hear voices on all sides of an issue.
This is the place that people turn to for stories that matter.
And they know that when they walk away, they will have learned something about the world around them.
That's why this makes PBS important for daily life and, in the end, our world.
Thank you for joining us.
Community. Learning, working, playing, celebrating, doing life is always better together. At GPB, we aim to provide you with the tools to be able to do life together well. Our mission to educate, inform, and entertain inspires everything from our wide range of programming to our stimulating radio conversations to our fun in-person events. We've got something for everyone. Visit gpb.org/community to learn more about our upcoming events.
Welcome back to Lawmakers. I'm Donna Lowry. Deep fakes, algorithms, autonomous. Those are just some of the words that are now part of our vocabulary because of artificial intelligence. Last summer, we wanted to talk to Georgians about AI. We went to a place where it's in use, the Battery at Truist Park. We got on the Hopper, an autonomous bus that takes fans across the interstate to the park. We asked Georgians on their way to a Braves game what they thought about AI.
It's scary.
Tell me about that.
Just somebody not being in control of it. Of course, some people don't need to be in control of their own vehicle. So we'll see. I think it's a way that it's coming, though.
I think it'll be very helpful in reducing congestion. I think as we age, for instance, there are parts about the technology that I'm looking forward to. I really do feel that it'll help me as I age be able to be more independent. I'll be able to get to the doctor. I'll be able to get to the grocery store under circumstances where I can no longer drive. So there are many pieces of AI that I'm looking forward to actually as an aging person.
Well, I'm in real estate, so I use it for Chat GPT, and it writes for me and does all kinds of stuff for me that used to take me forever because I'm not a writer. So I'll give it my ideas, and then it spews out this beautiful, organized, whatever I was doing, a description of a house or whatever.
I'm not the biggest fan of AI right now.
Why?
So just for that reason. I mean, it's going to put us in an awkward situation, I think, when it comes to people finding jobs and being able to work. And then what is AI going to really be able to do when it comes to construction or, physical labor jobs? Are they going to help us? Because that's where we're hurting a lot in the U.S. is the labor force in general. I mean, I do construction for a living, and so the biggest thing I've got right now is trying to find employees. How are we going to do that with AI?
What does artificial intelligence mean to you?
Robots. Yeah, I think it's robots taking data and using it to do new things almost.
Good thing?
Sometimes, you've seen AI art and music and stuff like that, which is cool. But also, some of it's a little, we don't know enough about it.
Yeah. What about you?
I feel like it's the future, so we should just be ready to see what it entails.
Joining me to talk about AI legislation are Republican Representative Todd Jones of South Forsyth, and he's chairman of the House Technology and Infrastructure Innovation Committee. And Republican Representative Brad Thomas of Holly Springs is vice chair of the House Committee on Technology and Infrastructure and Innovation. So thank you both for being here. You heard what people had to say about it. Before we get into it, though, Chairman Jones, I know that you and the former person we had on, Representative Mary Margaret Oliver, worked together on that Mental Health Parity Act 2 years ago. So I wanted to make sure you see if you had anything to add about what we might see this year.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think Representative Oliver really laid out, I think, where we're at today really, really well. The only thing that I would add to that is 988. We're doing everything we can in this state to let everyone know. Everyone knows what 911 is about in terms of the emergency that you may be having. We want everyone in the state to also know all about 988. If you're having a challenge with mental health, if you're having a challenge with addictive diseases, substance abuse, please pick up the phone, dial 988. Someone's going to be on the other line to help you out.
A very good reminder.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get into AI a little bit here and give us an idea, Representative Thomas, what's taking place in Georgia that people should know about AI. We heard some people talk about different things.
Well, I think it's been a nationalized issue, and but really, I think what we've done here in Georgia is, first, we've defined what AI is in a way that no other state has done, and I think we're the leader in the country on how we define AI. Because until we can gather around what AI is, then how do you set good policy in place?
Can you tell us how you define it? Is it complicated?
It's so specific. So it's funny. Many times you hear people say, "Oh, this is a simple bill." This is not a simple bill, and this is not a simple topic.
Sure.
So it takes significant effort and multiple people, and it's a multi-line definition. But I will tell you, the key to defining AI is to make it general enough to where it can last the test of time. But specific enough where it's actually going after the things that we're trying to set policy for.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So
No,
you think we're just getting a handle on everything? The definition helps, and then moving from there to something more.
We are. Chairman Jones set out a AI subcommittee over the summer. We had meetings. We also had joint meetings with the Senate. And part of what that came out was, different issues and how generative AI specifically, with all of its benefits, how it has some nefarious uses as well, which is what we tried to tackle in 986.
Yeah. I want to get in a couple of things that people mentioned. Like the one guy was talking about construction and jobs. That's a big fear for a lot of people.
Absolutely, and I think the fear, I think we need to be able to address. And when I heard that gentleman talk about construction, well, a lot of people need to be thinking about, I hope, the fourth industrial revolution is going to include not just AI, but AV like you saw in that shuttle, but it's also going to include accretive manufacturing and 3D printing. We are going to see the day very soon in this state where houses are going to be printed. Literally, buildings will be printed. We're going to be looking at workforce housing. We're going to be looking at housing in terms of low income, being able to build houses faster, cheaper, more efficient. I think these are the areas where people, I hope, once they get more and more educated, not just on AI, but also on autonomous vehicles and 3D printing, I hope they're going to see, you know what, we should embrace the fourth industrial revolution. There's a lot of opportunity for here in Georgia.
And for jobs. So I think the big fear is that there won't be jobs. It's going to take away jobs.
I think we should lean into it. And let me tell you, let me give you an example. I remember when Excel came out. Yes, I'm that old. And I remember the accountant was going to be gone. No more accountants, no more financial planners, because Excel was going to take that over. Rather, what we've seen is an explosion in financial services, so we leaned into Excel. I think what you're going to see is more and more people understanding AI is a great tool for efficiency. It's a great tool to lean into, but as much as it's going to be so knowledgeable around everything that exists on the internet, we still need human beings to be able to implement, develop, and service.
Okay. Representative Thomas, I know there's some legislation you guys are working on. One of them is HB 986. Tell us what that's about.
So that's the election deepfake bill. However, it's expanded since, and now it includes certain other generative AI issues, such as defrauding seniors and other things that AI can be used for. So, but what the crux of it started off as elections, and that's important because obviously we're in election year, and so it's an issue that we need to take a look at. But unlike historically, where you can go and you can create flyers or whatever and pass around communities, these generative AI, if they look realistic, of a politician or whoever, it can be really damaging. And we want to get at that. We still want to make sure we're supporting the First Amendment rights of individuals in a way that also ensures that deceptive information that can be believable. And it's very specific. We're very specific in saying it has to look to a reasonable person to be believable. That was really what we were going after.
Because we've seen the deep fake videos during election years. We've seen different things. So this is trying to get a handle on all of that. I guess
that's correct, and I think we went about it the right way. Again, we're not trying to go after satire, parody. The things that have been part of the political process, from the beginning. Instead, what this is very targeted at individual, I say persons, which are a lot of campaigns, PACs, and organizations that have enough money to create a realistic, believable, generative AI of any individual doing anything, anywhere. And this has opened up a whole new world, and it has to do with where are you in the virtual arena versus in the reality where we all operate right now. And in the virtual arena, really, it's visual, what you can see and what you hear are really the only things that you can believe virtually. So when you take those two things and you create people doing things that they didn't do, are you defrauding people? Because that's not protected free speech. Okay. And that's the crux of the bill.
And there will be, you're tying a felony to it. It will be a felony if you're found guilty of this, and a penalty involved, right?
Yeah, so we're talking about potential jail time and potential fine. In addition to that, I think that Representative Thomas had a great add to the bill in terms of we're going to go ahead and require disclaimers. So if you're going to be using generative AI, to Representative Thomas's point, we want you to go ahead and disclaim and say, yes, I did use generative AI to go ahead and create this believable image that you're seeing right now. If you don't use it, then that particular PAC, that campaign committee, et cetera, will actually have a penalty or a fine attached to it that will be no less than $10,000. So we really want to put a lot of, I'll say, weight behind this and make sure that the voters, the electorate, know exactly what's real and, frankly, what's imaginary.
Okay, so that's HB 986. There's HB 988 too. What's that about?
Correct. So in order for us to set policy, we have to figure out, I always tell people, to get to where you want to go, you have to know where you are and then set where it is that you want to be. Chairman Jones and I are very much in agreement that our goal in life, in the policy that we're creating, is really to make sure that we're not stifling innovation, but we're putting up guardrails to make sure that people are protected. And what 988 does is it authorizes the Georgia Technology Authority to audit all state systems for the use of AI and set policy to make sure there's not discriminative practices being used in that implementation of AI. So I think it came out very well supported, and we're excited to see what the report we get back. And if we need to do some more policy making, we'll be on here next year talking about it.
It seems like you will, because there are things you can't even anticipate that are out there or coming, right?
Yeah, 100%. And Representative Thomas mentioned it earlier in the segment in terms of the definition of AI. We're really proud of it. We think we've beaten the other 49 states, but it is probably going to be passé in 6 months, maybe 6 weeks. So we absolutely realize we need to have a living, breathing document, but we're going to have to revisit this every year. I think folks are going to be talking about this a lot, not just AI, but in terms of the discriminatory practices that it could do if we let it go, in a sense, the wrong way. Also, keeping those guardrails up. We don't want to be a state that puts too much regulation on it, stifling innovation. We want to be able to lift our companies up and have as much innovation as possible, but we need to make sure that we put that proper guardrail up, not just for, I'll say, the governmental entities, but also for the private sector.
So this is just a start. Like, there's so much more left to do, right?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
And your committee on AI in particular, is that over or is that a continuing?
It's continuing.
It does. So you're still taking in information, and people probably want to pass along information to you too.
We've had a lot of people want to pass along information.
Yeah,
so,
I bet.
But this will continue on into perpetuity. So
yeah, because it's a whole new world out there.
A whole new world.
I know. You came on last year and talked about it, and we're still seeing a lot of coming on.
We are.
Well, thank you for coming on and telling us more about it. We will keep up with both of those bills. And I think you've got some bipartisan support, don't you?
We do.
Yeah. You've had people sign on. I mean, it's something everybody wants, right?
Yeah, we've had bipartisan support, and we really, really appreciated that. In addition to that, I want to give a shout out, Judy Non-Civil, meaning Judiciary Non-Civil and Judiciary Civil. They have been participating in this process. 3 different committees are taking not just a look at this bill, but making sure sure we're getting it right. I think we're on the 22nd draft. So we're really trying to really perfect this as we send it over to the Senate, knock on wood.
Thank you. We'll have to leave it there because that does it for lawmakers today. The General Assembly is taking tomorrow off, and we think it's for Valentine's Day to spread the love. That's what we're doing. We'll be back on Thursday. From the entire team, bye-bye.